Hey guys, hope you're having a good day, and today we're going to be doing a video on Division Designer, Division templates in Hawaii 4, and all the stats and what they mean and how to use them and what you want to focus on. Okay, so the first stat we have here is max speed. And max speed is pretty self-explanatory. It's the max speed your units can move. So infantry unit, that's probably the slowest, one of the slowest units in the game, and its max speed is 4, and 4 is the lowest max speed in the game. So if any unit has a max speed lower than 4, it will just default to 4 because that's the lowest it can be. Cavalry, of course, as a unit is going to have a higher max speed. I think it's about 6.4, and motorized infantry obviously has a very high max speed of about 12 kilometers, which is 3 times faster than infantry. So if you want a division that can encircle or run over other units, you definitely want a high max speed. An important thing to note about max speed is that your max speed will always be defined by the slowest battalion in your division. So if you have a division of, say, 8 trucks with 1 infantry, the infantry is going to make that division have a max speed of 4, even though the trucks have a max speed of 12. And another thing players may not realize is that this can also be affected by the support company. So if you have a slow recon support company and a motorized division, that's going to be defined by whatever the max speed of that recon company is. HP is the next stat here, and this is defined by how much manpower your division has and how much equipment your division has. Obviously, the more HP your unit has, the more damage it will be able to take. HP is represented by the orange bar of your unit. Support companies are also made up of manpower and equipment, so they of course will also add to your HP. It's important to know the HP or strength of your division is tied to your combat stats. So if you have half your max HP or strength, your units are going to be half as good at defending and half as good at attacking. Organization, this is probably one of the most important stats in the game, if not the most important. You can think of organization as morale, and if you have low organization, your units are going to move way slower. You're going to be far less effective at attacking and far less effective at defending. If a unit is attacking and it runs out of organization, it will stop attacking. If a unit is defending and it runs out of organization, it will retreat to a nearby tile. Your divisions will lose organization if they're attacking, if they're defending, if they're moving, if you've got bad supply, and also by attrition. Units like infantry have high organization, while units like tanks have low organization. Recovery rate is how much organization your unit recovers per hour. So if you have a recovery rate of 0.28, you're going to recover to 0.28 organization an hour. Your recovery rate can be greatly influenced if you have bad supply. The next stat is reconnaissance. If you have a higher reconnaissance stat than your enemy, your commander will pick a tactic that will most effectively counter the enemy units. I will cover combat tactics in another video, but just know it's a good stat to have. Suppression is an important stat for garrisons and occupation, and it represents the ability of your division to lower resistance. The weight of a division determines how many convoys or transport planes your division will need to move via sea or air. Supply use is how much supply your division will use a day. You can decrease supply use by using a logistics company. Reliability is the chance for your equipment to be destroyed in combat or attrition. The higher reliability, the less equipment you're going to be losing. Guns, artillery, support equipment, etc. Maintenance company will increase your overall reliability. Trickleback is a pretty interesting stat. Usually when you suffer casualties, that manpower will disappear. With the trickleback stat, you can return a portion of casualties back to the manpower pool. In other words, you save some of your units from dying. You can increase the stat with the field. And finally, in the base stats, we have XP loss. This is how much experience you lose when a unit suffers casualties. For this statistic, a negative number is better. The field hospital support company will decrease experience loss. Alright, now we get into the combat stats, and this is where it gets pretty useful. Soft attack, like organization, is one of the most important stats in the game. Basically, soft attack is defined as how many attacks are made each hour against the soft parts of division. Now that's going to sound pretty confusing, but basically, soft divisions, you can think of them like divisions that are made of flesh, right? So an infantry unit, that's a human. Cavalry unit, obviously that's going to be pretty soft. as opposed to a hard unit which is going to be a tank or a mechanized unit which is made of armor or metal. Soft attack is generally going to be far more important than hard attack because the majority of everyone's army is going to be made up of infantry. And conversely, hard attack is the same thing as soft attack, but for the hard parts of the division, the mechanized and the tanks. In many games, having divisions with high hard attack will be important, because if you only have divisions of soft attack, your enemy can very easily defend with tanks. Air attack is how much damage your division will do to airplanes. The stat can decrease the effectiveness of your superiority if your enemy has that over you. Something important to know about Hoi 4 though is that only CAS can be shot down by anti-air in Hoi 4. The defense stat of your units affects how many attacks you can avoid. When a unit runs out of defense, it will get hit by the enemy units, and its org and strength will decrease, and eventually it will probably need to retreat. The higher the defense statistic, the longer you'll be able to hold, and the less casualties you will have. Breakthrough is a pretty important stat in Hearts of Iron 4 that is not very explanatory by its name. Breakthrough in Hearts of Iron 4 affects how many attacks you'll avoid while you're attacking a division. In Hearts of Iron 4, your divisions not only attack the enemy division when you're attacking, but also when you're defending. If you have low breakthrough, your attacking units won't be able to defend themselves, you'll lose strength and org, and you probably will have to stop attacking. Therefore, having high breakthrough will allow your division to attack much more effectively. Armor is a bit more of a complicated stat. Armor will halve the soft attack and hard attack of an attacking enemy division so long as your armor is higher than the enemy's piercing. Also, if a unit has higher armor than your enemy's piercing, you'll be able to move freely without getting pinned, and its attacks will be increased. The armor of a division is calculated by 40% of the highest armor unit in the division plus 60% of the average armor of all the units in the division. Infantry and cavalry are soft units and therefore have 0 armor. And well, you already probably understand how piercing works now. If you have higher piercing than the enemy's armor, you'll be able to effectively pin that division and de-org it. So higher piercing than the enemy's armor will allow you to suffer 0 debuffs. Once again, piercing is equal to 40% of the highest piercing unit in the division, plus 60% of the average piercing of all units in the division. The initiative statistic speeds up your unit's planning speed. If a unit's planning speed was 2% a day, if you had 20% initiative, it would now be 2.4% a day. Higher initiative also increases the chance your unit will come into the battle from the reserves. The next stat is entrenchment, and this is an incredibly important defensive stat. How much entrenchment a unit has will increase both its attack and its defense. The entrenchment of your division will build up daily if your unit is not attacking or moving. If your unit attacks, it will lose its entrenchment. So the entrenchment stat of your unit is the max entrenchment that your unit can reach. Combat width is another incredibly important statistic in Hearts of Iron 4. Basically, different tiles have different maximum combat widths, and this varies by the terrain of the tile. If a tile's combat width is 70, and you have 3 divisions with a combat width of 23, that means all 3 of those divisions will be able to effectively fight in an attack or a defense. If you had 3 divisions that were 25 width and a 70 max width tile, only 2 of those divisions will be able to fight in the battle, and the rest of the divisions would be reserves. Something really important I should point out is that if you attack from multiple tiles, you would have a lot more divisions in the battle. For example, let's say an enemy is defending on a tile of 70 width, they have 3 23 width infantry divisions, and you have 4 tiles bordering that each have 70 width, and you attack with 3 from each of those tiles that all have 23 width. You can attack with 12 divisions and you can only defend with 3. He's going to be a massive. And now we're on to the final combat stat, which is hardness. The hardness of your division is determined by the units that make up your division. An all infantry division will have 0 hardness and very, very soft. A mechanized infantry division will have about 60 to 75% hardness, and a super heavy tank division will be the hardest at 100%. A division with high hardness will suffer much more from hard attacks and less of soft attacks, and a division with low hardness will suffer much more from soft attacks and far less from hard attacks. To put this into an example, if your enemy attacks you with 30 soft attack and you have 100% hardness, you will take no damage from that soft attack. If you had 50% hardness, you would take half the soft attack and half the hard attack. So 30 soft attack would become 15, and if say he had hard attack like 4, it would become 2. And good job, guys, if you made it through thus far, because that's all the combat stats and Hearts of Iron 4. Now finally in this division page, we just have the equipment cost, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Manpower, how much men. Training time is in days, so 120 training time will be 120 days. Fuel capacity, how much fuel a unit will hold, like a tank or a mechanized. Fuel usage, how much fuel we use a day. And yeah. There are two little things I want to talk about before I finish also, and that is there's an icon that tells you if you can paradrop or not, and there's an icon that tells you if the division is under your battalion limit for special forces cap. There is one thing I've missed with division stats, and that is terrain buffs and debuffs. And in my next video, I'm going to talk about everything you need to know about terrain Hoi 4, literally everything. And that's going to be an interesting video, so keep tuned for that. One thing I need to add about training time is that your training time is defined by the unit with the longest training time. So you could have 8 battalions in your division with a training time of 100, but if you have 1 battalion with a training time of 150, the training time of the whole division will be 150. Something to note about support companies is they do not take up any combat width.